Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning. A busy morning. How you guys doing?
It was very busy.
Yeah.
What a night and what a day.
KD was spectacular.
So, I hate to say I told you so, but number one, I told you so. My man Kawhi ain't playing. I told you yesterday, he just won't play. He tweaked his knee. He just doesn't go. He says, I'm sorry, I'm out, which means I'm out on the Clippers. That's number one. And I'm not even going to mention that I won 3 more cases of Diet Dew off the Nets last night.
Get him off Giannis. Take him from Giannis, go pay mine.
He should. He owes you for that one. He owes the world for that one.
Yes, that was some bull, Giannis.
Yes.
The reason we are so riled up because we have so much breaking news this morning. What we're talking about, guys, Chris Paul is entering COVID protocol. Wow. Kawhi is out. He is officially out for Game 5 tonight. We will get into everything, of course, later. But yesterday we talked about KD. All eyes would be on Kevin Durant, and he delivered. Durant had arguably the game of his life last night as the Nets beat the Bucks 114-108. Brooklyn had fallen behind by 17 points, but KD put the team on his shoulders and finished with 49 points, 17 assists and 17 rebounds and 10 assists while playing all 48 minutes, guys. The performance got everyone talking on social media last night, including Skip, who tweeted this. Kevin Durant just proved once and for all he's the best player on the planet. Nothing like him, including the phony GOAT. I cannot wait for tomorrow's Undisputed. And yes, Undisputed is here.
It's now.
We will get to you, Shannon.
Yes.
We are here. Do you finally agree KD is the best player on the planet?
Why you got to bring you-know-who into
planet.
it? He minded his business.
Where is you-know-who? Whatever happened to LeBron
You
James?
always tried to include him. Skip, look, I won't deny. It was the greatest performance I've ever seen from Kevin Durant. He was sensational, given what they had asked. And you and I had been talking about it for a day and a half. Skip, they're going to need 30 to 40. I said they're going to need 30 to 40. They're going to need about 13 rebounds. And they say, Kawhi, KD, why you at it? Can you give us 8 to 12 assists? He did it. He did everything and he was so efficient in doing it. Skip, he didn't shoot 30 times. I thought he'll need at least 30 shots to get that.
I agreed.
Efficient, 23. But to answer Jenny's question.
Wait, say that again. 49 points on 23 shots. Go ahead.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
He was spectacular, but it's one game. And Skip, he's going to have to finish it off now because he's given us a taste of what he can do when asked to do the things he's never been asked to do before. He was never asked to do that in Golden State. He was never asked to do that in OKC. He hasn't been asked to do that. Now James Harden's on one leg. We'll talk about Bud's game plan not to attack James Harden. We'll talk about that later. No Kyrie with an ankle. We don't know if Kyrie's going to be back Game 6, Game 7. He may be out for this series. But for KD to do what he did, Skip, that was something special. And I told him, I said, do not let him play one-on-one. Because if you let him get a rhythm, Skip, I don't care who you throw at him, it's over for you. That's with any great offensive player. Do not let him get a rhythm. Again, I'm going to say no, he isn't, Skip, because he's going to have to finish. I'm not going to base it on one game. Because since, Skip, I saw in Game 3, he go 11 of 28. I saw in Game 4, he go 9 of 25. I saw that.
He was he was overmatched against P.J. Tucker in Games 3 and 4. They had his number.
You know what happened? Whew. He fooled him. He baited him. He said, now what they're going to do is they're going to leave P.J. Tucker on me again. They're going to go one-on-one because they think P.J. Tucker can actually guard me. They played into his hands, Skip. And I told you this. I said this on Sunday. I said, Bucks, don't fall in love with the three. The advantage that you have on this team is your size inside. Skip, why is James Harden guarding KD? Guarding Giannis with one leg and wave off help? Why would, if you look at the guys that Giannis is guarding, at some point in time, Skip, I'm not saying you start the game on him, but when you see KD getting it going in the fourth quarter, you say, Bud, I got this. No, because Giannis, for the longest time, Skip, he's been hiding behind, I'm just doing what my coach asked me to do. Damn what the coach asked you to do. You're the defensive player of the year. You're that, not Tuck. And I love Tuck, but Skip, Tuck is undermatched. But no, to answer your question, to make a long story short and a short story long, and I know I was long-winded, I do not believe Kevin Durant, off of that one performance, that Kevin Durant proved he's the best player. Now, I have him 1-2. He and LeBron go back and forth. Now, if he finishes it off this season, because when Kyrie comes back, we still don't know how healthy he's going to be. We don't know if and when James Harden's hamstring. For a hamstring to be as bad as it was, and that man to play 46 minutes, and y'all don't take advantage of it, Milwaukee, y'all need y'all butt beat. Bud, you in trouble. No, he's not. But he was fantastic yesterday.
So even off what you just saw with your own two eyes,
Yes.
sitting up in your palatial estate in Bel Air,
Yes.
on your couch watching your gigantic television, you still would not say that's the best player on the planet right here, right now.
But I will concede this. I started rooting for it. Even though I wanted the Bucks to win, and I had 3 cases. Skip, you ever been in a situation where you want another team to win, and somebody's doing something special, and you start all of a sudden you find yourself, well, I don't want y'all to win no more, because I want him to keep that going. I remember doing that watching Randy Johnson throw the perfect game against the Braves. I wanted the Braves to win, but I realized I was witnessing something special. I realized that I was witnessing something special. Well, damn, y'all Milwaukee. Come on, KD, you get it. I'm mad because he didn't. How he missed that free throw to get 50, Skip?
The only mistake he made all night. Okay. I have told you for years this is the best player on the planet. And you could make a case, and we'll debate this a little later in the show, that he is the greatest scorer in the history of this league.
Yes.
We've also made the case this year that James Harden is the greatest perimeter scorer we've ever seen.
Yes.
But the way Kevin scores, I have never seen anything like, because he's 7 feet tall. He handles it for 7 feet.
Great.
Pretty great.
We've never seen anybody handle the ball
Not like
that.
this.
No, not at that size.
And we've never, ever seen anybody 7 feet tall shoot with the kind of range that he shoots with.
No.
And when he gets his rhythm, as you said, it goes deeper and deeper until it gets silly deep. And after the game, Steve Nash, who's been around a while and seen a lot of greatness, he said it was historic. He said it was ridiculous what he can do, because it's just ridiculous what he can do. And it was his signature night. That's also debatable, because a little later in the show, we're going to talk about his greatest game. I still slightly favor one against the phony GOAT back in 2017 in Game 3 at Cleveland in the NBA Finals, just because it was the finals. But I do agree with your final takeaway. This game is sitting on a platter for all the world to behold, but it now is unfinished business, because let's just say they go on to win the NBA championship, which I'm certainly not ruling out today after what I saw last night. If they could cap it off with the championship, then you would look back at Game 5 of this round of the playoffs and you'd say, that's it.
Right.
Then that game would have much greater magnitude than it had as just a second-round game, right?
Plus, Skip, if it was a closeout game, this was the game, the 4. Or if it was Game 7.
It was a turning point game, but it wasn't the closeout.
It only pushed you up 3-2.
Okay, because obviously Milwaukee could go home and win it, and then they could get their you-know-what together, and they could come back and win Game 7, and I wouldn't be shocked by that either, depending on the health of Harden and Kyrie.
Correct.
Okay, now, here's why last night was so all-time special to me.
It was.
James Harden proved to be a liability last night, and I still can't get it through my head. He played 46 minutes on literally one leg.
He did.
As a complete liability on both ends of the floor. He couldn't score. He finally shot some little runner off the glass. It was midway through the third quarter.
He got the and one.
And he got an and one, and that's it. That's all he got. James Harden was 1 for 10. And can I remind everybody, maybe the greatest perimeter scorer ever, but if we just hark back to 2018, 19, and 20, he led the league in scoring with averages of 30 points and 36 points and 34 points. That guy couldn't sniff a basket last night. That guy couldn't even handle the basketball. When it was in his hands, I was saying, get it out of your hands. Just give it to somebody. Get out of the way. Just go hide in the corner.
Well, how could you see his liability, but Budenholzer and the Bucks couldn't?
I don't know, because on defense, he just hid in the middle of the lane because he's just barely moving. He played, quote unquote, without actually playing basketball.
Exactly.
James Harden last night, seriously, he looked like he hadn't played basketball in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Could I please remind everybody, he did play against Boston in the first round, and he played 5 games, and he played like James Harden. And he averaged 28, 7, and 11 for those 5 games. And in the closeout game, which wasn't that long ago, it was on June 1st. What are we up to? The 16th. So it was just barely over 2 weeks ago. In the closeout game, James Harden scored 34 with 10 rebounds and 10 assists. Did you see that guy last night?
Nah.
What? And obviously in game 1, he re-pulled it. And he said he woke up yesterday and said, you know what? I got to go. And to Steve Nash's credit, this is very interesting because this is a tough call. I tweeted in the middle of the game, I would just put Mike James in and forget about it because Mike James could have played better distributing point guard. He could have helped KD more than James did. But what do we know about James and KD? Well, they came up together for the Thunder. They're very close.
Yeah.
So just on intangibles, just like having him out there.
They got a wavelength.
They just do, where they trust each other and they believe in each other, and I think they genuinely love each other. And so Steve Nash, as a former 2-time MVP, he knows I got to leave him in there just for the intangibles, just for his presence on the court.
Because that's what he gave you.
That's all he did. It was pure presence. He gave you nothing else, to the point where he was overmatched just trying to distribute the ball. How many loopy, careless passes he just get it out of his hands and just loop it up the court? And I'd say, don't do that.
I mean, he got turned the ball over, Skip. He jumped like he was going to shoot it. Then he wanted to pass it, and he came down. They called him for a travel, and he like, damn it.
Okay. He did. Yeah, he came down with the travel. That's a good one. It's like, what are you doing? Have you ever played before? It looked like 2 or 3 years he had not played. And don't get me started on Joe Harris, who at one point in his career won the 3-point shootout at the All-Star weekend. Last night, he went 2 for 11 and 1 of 7 from 3. And what did we say yesterday? Well, obviously, the role players got to roll, man. If I told you before the game that James Harden would play 46 minutes and go 1 of 10, and I told you that Joe Harris would play 33 minutes and go 2 of 11 and 1 of 7.
Get blown out.
Blown out. You got no hope and no chance. Obviously, out of nowhere, Uncle Jeff came to play. And he always comes to play.
He always.
He just does. He just comes to play. He is fearless. He is so skilled and so experienced and so impervious to playoff pressure. It just doesn't bother him. Did I see 27 coming from him? 7 of 8 threes? No. He saved the day.
If you'd have told me, okay, James Harden is going to be James Harden, and Joe Harris is going to be below Joe Harris, but Uncle Jeff is going to take 11 shots, he's going to make 7 of 8 threes, I would say, Skip, they're going to probably win. Because KD, with that, that's all KD needed one of...
He needed one to go with him.
Blake Griffin played well.
He did. He hit 3 big threes. I'll give you that.
That was a Skip.
And those two did a good job on
in the third quarter, when they got to 17, and they could have stretched it to 25, maybe even more. It was 3 after 3 from Jeff Green and Blake Griffin that kept them attached.
The day.
And all Kevin Durant says, get me to the fourth quarter within striking distance, and I'll take it from here.
Okay. So now, this is why what happened starting in the middle of the third quarter was so unlikely to me. Kevin Durant had an incredibly rocky first quarter of that game because it was just a repeat of Game 3 and Game 4, as you pointed out, in Milwaukee. When he was horrendous in those games. He shot 11 of 28 and 9 of 25 against P.J. Tucker, his Texas ex, like Kevin, who's just got his number. And if we could see what happened on the first big play of the game, it's 10-16 left in the first quarter. Kevin drives baseline on PJ, and he's playing football on him. And he just loses the ball. Just lost the ball. Didn't that look like a replay of everything we saw on Sunday, right, back in Milwaukee? Right. And I thought, the refs are going to let him play again. Well, they didn't after this, but he just took the ball right away from him.
It seemed to me, Skip, is that early on, KD was playing for calls. And then he said, to hell with it. If you call it, you call it. If you don't, you don't. I'm going.
3 times in the first quarter, they just took the ball away from him, knocked it out of his hands. And usually he plays so strong with the ball in his hands. So the other things that went wrong for Kevin Durant in the first quarter was that he had a foul on Chris Middleton on shooting a 3 that was just you're better than that, Kevin. Right. You know better than that. They had a shot clock violation with 8:25 left in the game, and it was mostly because Kevin held the ball too long because he didn't know what to do with it. He had another turnover on a bad pass at 5:31, and he missed 2 free throws in the first quarter. This is a 90% free throw shooter. Yeah. He was completely discombobulated, in my eye, by P.J. Tucker, who I tweeted this. I thought P.J. was intimidating Kevin Durant in the first quarter. And finally, to his credit, against his nemesis, P.J. Tucker, slowly but surely in the second quarter, he started to say, no, to your point, I'm just going to go up, and I'm going to go up strong, and I'm going to be Kevin bleeping Durant. Yep. And he scored 11 in the second quarter. So he went 7 in the first quarter, 11 in the second quarter, 11 in the third, and 20 in the fourth. Once we got to the fourth, it was rolling. And to your point, remember, Milwaukee is up 17 in the middle of the third quarter. Correct. And yet it felt tenuous to me. It felt flimsy because you could just see what was starting to happen with Kevin Durant.
I saw it on Sunday. Yep. They was making threes, and I was like, I understand that you're making threes, but don't forget the advantage that you have is your size, and you can play inside. I saw it coming because what happens, Skip, when you start hitting threes, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we good. If you go cold, now all of a sudden you got Brook Lopez. Skip, Brook Lopez, 7 foot tall. Ain't no way James Harden and Jeff Green should guard him. But they can guard him when he's out past the three-point line.
Not only is he past the three-point line, he shoots bombs. Yeah. I mean, he shoots 35-footers. He'll be out there, and he made one of them. He
pull it up the rear, and he shot one from, I'm like, bro. But Skip, Giannis needs to post.
Oh, well, obviously.
And you let KD, right. Skip, once he got that rhythm, going into the third quarter, and he saw it was close, you know KD a closer.
He is a closer. Thank you. So what shocked me was that only once in the whole game did Kevin take advantage of his huge height advantage over P.J. Tucker. They posted him one time on the low block, and he took it and just wheeled in the lane and shot a
He doesn't really like
He doesn't like to do it.
No.
But how much taller is it? I think PJ, I might give him 6'5".
Yeah, KD is at least, KD is 6'11 and a half, 7 foot. PJ is what, 6'5"?
Okay.
Give him 6'6". Let's be nice. We give him 6'6".
Okay, so it's like a 6-inch height advantage?
Yes.
Well, he never took advantage of it because when he got rolling, he was rolling from deep, man. He was rolling from the perimeter.
But if you notice, Skip, what he likes to do, KD likes to get to the midnight. He'll pull up on you with a 3, but he really likes to get to the mid-range. You saw late in the fourth quarter, every time he was getting to that mid-range, and he messed around and saw like 5 or 6 of them things go in, and I knew when that shot clock, I said, I've seen this before, and I said, y'all better not let KD touch this ball. It was 3. Don't let him get it. I said, uh-oh. When he elevated on Chris Middleton, I said, this ball going in.
Well, the ultimate uh-oh for Milwaukee came with 50 seconds left when they're down to the end of the clock. If we can see
this, 1 point game.
This is the dagger. This is the one.
Skip, I said, don't let him get it.
Don't let him get it. Go up, and he didn't even have his balance. He's falling sideways, and that's the ball game right there to me. Psychologically, this is the dagger.
It's over.
This is the dagger. And Chris Middleton's a very good defender, but he goes about 6'4", 6'5".
Ooh, I got it going tonight.
I got it going. Okay, back to best player on the planet. If we could hear, please, what Kevin said after the game about his overall abilities that get underestimated and devalued, I believe. Just let this sink in, please.
Right.
The perception of me is that I can score the basketball well, but, any team that I've played on, I've been asked to do pretty much everything from rebounding to defending to initiating to scoring. I might not be, I might not do it all the time, but I do a little bit of everything out there.
Okay, so this was a tour de force by who I have always believed, or for a long believed, was the best player on the planet. He obviously led them in points last night. He led them with 17 rebounds last night. He led them with 10 assists, and I told you yesterday he needed to get 10 in this game, and he got 10 because he can distribute and pass the basketball. I'm not saying he's a great passer, but he's a very good passer of the basketball. He led them in steals last night with 3, and he led them in blocks with 2 because he is an underrated rim protector. When he decides to, he can defend at literally the highest level because he is a long 7 feet tall.
Well, you know what, Skip? I'm looking at the stat line. He led everybody on both teams in everything. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, block shots. Skip, I understand Kevin Durant because it is the perception that he score, all he does is score the basketball. But KD, no one said that you couldn't do it. It's just you haven't been asked to do it. It's kind of like when someone you don't see all these see him do. I don't even know if Jay-Z can drive because all I've seen him was with a driver. I don't know if he got a driver's license. I don't know if he can drive. But when you see somebody all they are in the back seat of a car, Skip, can they drive or do they just like getting driven around? Well, KD, when you have Russ that's leading the team in assists, or you have Draymond and you have Steph, you have Kyrie and James Harden, you're not asked. This was the first time, I believe, for the entirety of the game, they said, KD, we need every ounce of what you have. Rebounding, facilitating, scoring, blocking shots, doing all of that. Skip, I believe this was the first game. Now, he had a triple-double. I think he had a triple-double his last championship, game 5, they swept him. If I'm not mistaken, Skip, they swept him that series. Yeah, they swept him that series. And he got a triple-double in the game 4. So we know he has that ability, Skip, but he's never been asked to do that.
Okay, so I have given this to you from the start. LeBron is still the best passer in basketball, but KD is a better scorer than LeBron because he's a better shooter all around than LeBron.
Yes.
KD is a way better free throw shooter than LeBron. It's just never even been close. It's like 90% to 70%. KD is a better rebounder. He doesn't always ask himself or get asked to rebound, but when he decides to, he's a better rebounder than LeBron just because he's so much taller and longer than LeBron.
So let me ask you a question. If they were to ask KD, say, KD, for the rest of your career, this is what we need from you. We need you to lead us in points, rebounds, and assists. Do you think he can do it? Because that's what they've asked LeBron to do for 18 years. What KD did last night, Skip, we might not ever see this again to this level.
We've never seen a 45, 15, and 10 game in the playoffs ever.
And Skip, to get 49 points on 23 shots?
Most efficient scorer I've ever seen. Okay? And in the end, I believe he's a better defender and obviously rim protector than LeBron just because of his size.
Well, he's a better defender, maybe a better defender now. But in his prime, he couldn't see LeBron on the defensive end, Skip. You know that. LeBron can sit in that chair.
Just different ways. Yeah, LeBron in his day could sit in the chair. Kevin, obviously, he can't even get down that low. He's like the praying mantis. That's right. But again, I think it's offset. I think it's 50-50. One guy protects the rim, one guy protects the rim.
You know, Brian, ask Tiago Splitter. As all them guys, a lot of guys have tried and brought it to rim, Skip. A lot of them have tried it.
Wait, you mean the Tiago who can't out-jump me?
Oh, he tried it. He tried it, Skip.
Yeah.
But you know what, Skip? Today is all about KD. Today is about KD. KD,
you give it up.
I'm giving it up to you.
He is the best player on the planet, at least for today. He said it.
Shannon said it. Today is about KD, but today is also now about Kawhi, or lack thereof. How will the Clippers do with no Kawhi tonight?
I don't have mine.
The Suns are going to be without CP3 in the Western Conference Finals. Possibly. There's so much to get to. We got to talk about Giannis. Packed show. Stick around. Quick commercial. We'll be right back.
No mercy.
Guys, 2 big stories broke this morning. Chris Paul is out indefinitely after entering COVID health and safety protocols. And meanwhile, his potential opponent in the Western Conference Finals, Kawhi Leonard, is expected to miss tonight's critical Game 5 with the knee injury he suffered late in Game 4. Leonard missed the final few minutes of the Clippers' blowout win and apparently told teammates yesterday to expect him to miss tonight's game. His status for the rest of the series right now remains in doubt. So, Shannon, who wins tonight, Clippers or Jazz?
Well, Skip, prior to me having knowledge of this, I took the Jazz because I think the Jazz are a very, very tough team at home. And in their last 36 home games, Skip, with Spider Mitchell playing, they're 35-1. They're very formidable. They're the best home team in basketball. They had the best record in basketball. So
I think they have the loudest crowd in basketball.
They definitely do now because they get 18,000, 19,000 people in that building. So even before having this knowledge about Kawhi potentially being out, I was taking the Jazz. But Jazz, don't underestimate this team. Because a lot of mistakes teams make, Skip, is that they think because the best player is out, we got this, this is going to be a breeze. This is going to be anything but a breeze. I remember, knowing Ty Lue, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2014, LeBron didn't play against Portland. And Portland probably underestimated, and Kyrie came out and dropped 55. So Ty Lue is going to have these guys ready to play. And they want to show that they're more than a one-man team. They are a team, and we are some of all of our parts. Yes, Kawhi is their best player. There's no, disputing that. Mm-hmm. But they'll be ready to play, and the Jazz need to be on their best behavior, or they'll get caught slipping. Now, I hate this. I hate it. Yep. I hate that we have so many think about, Skip, how many all-stars that we've had missed time in the playoffs. I'm reading the stat where it says it's the most in NBA history, 7 All-Stars. Now, if Kawhi missed, that's going to be 8.
Yep.
Chris Paul, we can talk about him a little bit, Skip. If he misses a game, that'll be 9. That's not what the NBA wanted.
By the way, James Harden missed the game last night, effectively.
Yes.
I didn't know why he was out there. Seriously. Go ahead.
He did, Skip. He did 46 minutes. I honestly could have did what James Harden did last night.
Seriously, you could have.
At the ripe age of almost 53, I could have did what James Harden did.
Yep.
But, Skip, this is tough. And it didn't look right. Skip, I just thought he banged his knee. I think we've all, been running hard and jammed that knee and it hyperextend.
You did.
But something happened. Kawhi took himself out.
He did.
And the game was still in doubt. It wasn't like, Skip, it was a 20-point lead.
Completely
It was
agree.
right there. Utah make another 3 here or there, and we really got a ball game.
4.5 minutes left. Yep.
Man, Kawhi got that. Kawhi met somebody with that towel and went and sat it down. And it's really hard to tell, Skip, because his emotions never change. Because he's on the sideline, he's not laughing, he's not high-fiving, key, and anything like that. So his head is down, and he was like, and I'm thinking of like, okay, is he really hurt? Because you hear him talking about the game, I'm fine. But he always says he's fine. Even when he isn't fine, he's fine. So, Skip, this is huge for the Clippers, and I know this is terrible. And you don't want to see any team, but what we're starting to see, Skip, whomever win the title is going to be the team that was the healthiest throughout.
It's last man standing.
That's what it is, a war of attrition.
Agreed.
Because we've seen it affect. It started out with the Lakers. We thought it was going to hurt the Suns with CP3 in his shoulder.
Yep.
And you see what happened with the Nets, and you see Joel Embiid now, Skip. So, and now Kawhi. Man, I feel bad for the Clippers. I feel bad for Kawhi because he was playing unbelievable.
My turn. Prior to hearing this news, I was going to pick the Clippers to win Game 6 because, as I told several of my friends yesterday, they better win Game 6.
Right.
Because I don't think...
You mean Game 5?
I'm sorry, Game 5. Yes. Game 5 is the crucial one at Utah because I don't think they can win a Game 7 in that insane asylum at Utah. The one to win is tonight. Because they've got the momentum. They've got Utah a little bit on their heels thinking maybe we're just not as good as they are. And if you can carry that momentum into tonight at Utah and maybe hit them in the mouth the way you hit them in the mouth in Game 4. Got to get them early. And knock the crowd out of the game a little bit and just somehow hold them off. Then if you could win that Game 5 and come home and close them in Game 6. Right. That's the way to get to the conference finals. Correct. And it's good news, bad news. It's bittersweet because at first I heard that Chris Paul was in COVID protocol. And I'm thinking, wow, the heavens just opened up in the West. And it's like the Clippers' turn. Yes. And I'm thinking, wow, yesterday, Kawhi Leonard made first team All-NBA, one slot ahead of your man LeBron James. And that was significant for the Clippers as a franchise, that the team in the basement got a first-team All-NBAer, and they're still afloat in the playoffs, and your guys are watching from home. LeBron is tweeting about Kevin Durant. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But LeBron is watching the playoffs from a second-team vantage point All-NBA.
Right.
And that's debatable. And, again, if LeBron had stayed healthy the whole year, I doubt it would have stayed that way.
Right.
But again, Kawhi, does anybody have a problem with him being first team? Nobody has a problem.
No.
So all of a sudden, everything was coming up roses in Southern California for the Clippers. Until he did it to me again. This is the guy I have wrestled with for years because I told you he was, for years, my favorite player for the Spurs. They're my favorite team all time. It's sometimes hard to watch them these days, but in those days, it was obviously Manu. I love Manu and Tim Duncan and Tony Parker. But the guy who he captured my heart and ultimately my soul was Kawhi Leonard. Because they stole him in the draft by trading George Hill for him. And they also got Davis Bertans back in the trade. So they got Kawhi and Bertans. And we see what Bertans can do for Washington. He's pretty great, right? He's one of the better three-point shooters in the game. Fearless range. And they got both of them back for George Hill.
I don't think when they traded George Hill, Skip, because Kawhi was mainly a defensive guy, I don't think they ever thought he would be the offensive guy that he turned into.
San Diego State. And I watched him in the NCAAs, and I couldn't see it. Because he defended. He didn't score like this. And to the Spurs' credit, they turned him into a scorer. And Chip England, their shot doctor, he worked on that, and they got that mid-range where he just holds it and that claw right there and just line drives it in from 15 feet. And it's pretty unstoppable. It's the next thing to KD in this league
If you think about it, Skip, because his hand's so big, it's basically fingertips. He has to put it because his hand is so big, he can't shoot it.
He shoots it on his fingertips. So the point is, they go as he goes.
He does.
And the reason I was going to pick them in Game 5 is because in the end, it boils down to Kawhi is just a little better than Donovan. I love Donovan. He's as explosive a scorer as you get. But Kawhi can more consistently score because he can get to the mid-range and just keep doing that to you, or he can just go in and claw dunk you. And Donovan doesn't do that. So Donovan sort of lives and dies from distance, Sort of like Steph does, but I don't even think Donovan has Steph's up and under game, all of his lane game.
But Donovan is not, he's trying to get all the way to the paint, or you're going to shoot the three. Now, he does have, his mid-range has gotten better, Skip, but like you said about Kawhi, you were thinking like, okay, could Kawhi possibly have a KD game on the road?
Sure.
He could. I mean, because we saw what he did in, what was that, Game 6 where he had 45? And then he followed that up with another outstanding performance?
So I told you yesterday, Paul George has grown up right before your very eyes. He's toughened up right before your very eyes. Is he good enough to go solo and win at Utah tonight? I don't think so.
He wins this game, Skip, it does.
This would...
Now he would really be
now you're in the
playoff
conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so... At first, I heard Chris Paul is in COVID protocol, and I'm thinking, I don't know what that means because nobody knows. Did he get vaccinated? I have no idea.
Is he asymptomatic? Is he symptomatic?
I don't know. Is it just in close contact with? I was watching after the game the other night after they closed out. He's hugging everybody, you know, and you just don't know.
You go up in the stands. I think that was his parents, his mom, his sister, somebody.
And it's everybody. It's the whole clan is up there, and he's just hugging them down the row. Who knows what might have happened? We can only guess.
Correct.
But if this goes 7 games here, Utah Clippers, well, that would be Sunday. So the finals could start, the conference finals could start on Tuesday. But if somehow the Clippers could close them out, you could force the issue where it would start on Sunday, conference finals. Well, if you did what I said that you needed to do, which is win tonight and win, what would be the next one? Tonight is Wednesday, Friday. If you close them out on Friday night, you could force Phoenix maybe to play without Chris for a game or 2. I don't know how long it's going to go. And again, what we don't know is, does he have COVID? Because if he has COVID, it could be, remember what happened to Schroeder? Wasn't Schroeder like 2 weeks?
Yeah, like 14 days.
And then there was the issue with Schroeder in the playoffs against Phoenix. It seemed like
it affected him.
It affected him.
Yeah.
Right?
Jason Tatum had, and Jason Tatum says his breathing still
was not the same. Okay, so we don't know, but my point is the heavens opened for the Clippers, and then he did it again. So what do I know about Kawhi Leonard? He reminds me a little bit of Joel Embiid. He's a tough guy. He can play strong. He can be fearless. He can be mentally tough in the clutch. But when it comes to his body, he just listens to his body. If it squeaks, wherever it squeaks, he says, I'm out. That's just the way it is.
Skip, everybody can't play through injuries. Everybody can't play through pain. Now, we've seen guys be great, but the moment it's a toe or if it's anything, and it plays on their psyche, they're like, man, I'm not myself. And they talk themselves out of just going out there and playing, and then next thing you know, the game's over. You're like, well, it bothered me a little bit towards the end of the game. But Skip, but if you look at Kawhi, Skip, he plays with a lot of torque. The way he has to stop, because you got to understand now, he's not Kyrie. Kyrie's dancing, it's almost like Kyrie's on air.
I agree with that.
But Kawhi is hard plants and back it up and elevate it.
Sometimes awkward lands.
Yes.
His landings can be awkward on his blocks. Right. He comes down, and I'm like, oh, no, not again.
Because when he dunked one the other night, Rudy Gobert, that really should have been an and one, because Rudy kind of shoved him in his back, and he dunked it, but he came down kind of awkward. But on that break, you can tell he started rubbing that. He's like, ooh.
So what was my first telltale sign that it was serious in his mind?
Right.
He goes to the free throw line and bricks 2 free throws. Yeah. He's a 90%er. And I said, he's got the demons in his head. Like, I can't play with this. Right. To his credit, he hung in for a little while and went back to the line and made 2 free throws. And I thought, maybe there's hope. But then he yanked himself. 4:30 left.
I know a guy that had something very similar. Jen, I think you remember it happened on a Saturday afternoon. A guy ran into his ankle. He laid down on the floor. He went back down. He came and made a 3. And Skip Bayless told me everything was okay. And lo and behold, the very thing that you said was very okay, your guy did it.
And you know what would have happened? If the next game had been a pivotal Game 5 of the playoffs, LeBron James would have sucked it up and played. And I know it.
No, he ain't playing, Skip.
He's Iron Man. He's indestructible. He's the most durable superstar ever until this year.
No, Skip, if a guy misses 2 or 3 games, maybe if it's a playoff game, he comes back. A guy not missing 7 weeks and could have played the next day or the next 3 days. No, that ain't happening.
What if it was for all the marbles? What if this was it? He'd tough it out.
I mean, he'd
wrap it and shoot it and play on it.
I give you a prime example. Skip, you remember Isaiah Thomas?
I was there.
He rolled the ankle.
I was there.
Isaiah, when he took his tape off, the ankle was this big.
Okay, he scored like 20 in the fourth quarter.
Well, he did.
Okay.
But then he came out the next game.
It was at the Fabulous Forum out here.
They ended up losing. But he came back the next game, Skip. He was a shell of, what did he have, like 3-4 points? And he was a shell of himself.
But on pure adrenaline?
Exactly. And that's the thing, Skip. And you're like, whoo. But then all of a sudden, that adrenaline starts to wane down. You're like, man, this thing really, really hurts.
So, to your point, I've said all year the Clippers are the deepest team. But
you ain't overcoming this.
Hey, stars win these games.
Yes.
This is it.
Yes.
This is the highest level of playoff basketball. And Phoenix looks a little vulnerable, and Utah's going to say, aha.
Right.
Oh, and the other little caveat here, Donovan Mitchell did not make first team, second team, or third team All-NBA.
Cost himself $33 million.
And you don't think he might take it out on the visiting team tonight?
He and Jason Tatum. You get it the year before your deal.
Get your Supermax.
Right, you get the Supermax. You get an extra $33 million.
Okay, he's going to take it out tonight. I believe the Clippers are going to get blown out.
Let me ask you a question. Is Mike Conley playing? Because Utah's not feeling any sympathy because they're like, hold on, we played 4 games without Mike Conley.
They did?
I mean, I don't know, Skip. Have you ever seen the playoffs? You covered the game a lot longer than I've watched it. Have you ever seen a playoff where so many key guys were injured going into the playoffs or got injured in the playoffs?
No, and it's depressing because we all love it so much.
Yes.
And now it's only intriguing by who's not there. Right?
Because think about it, Skip, as you said, the NBA is really a superstar-driven league.
It is.
It ain't no team. No. You think Lakers, you think superstars. You think these teams, you think superstars. Well, the superstars aren't there.
So I would like to congratulate you. In conclusion, the Clippers are history.
We already got the 2 cases, though.
Since I'm up like 65 cases,
I'm going
to be okay.
I'm going to get them back. Slowly but surely.
Because you saw me coming.
I can't believe it. And you thought about it, Skip. You kind of predicted this with Kawhi.
I told you he wouldn't play. Didn't I tell you that yesterday?
I honestly didn't believe you knew, but you were onto something there, and I got to give you that. Okay, so Katie got it done. The Nets got it done. You know who did not? Giannis. So despite scoring a team-high 34 points last night, Giannis, he found himself on the losing end of the head-to-head showdown with Kevin Durant as the Nets beat the Bucks 114-108. Milwaukee had the momentum, winning 2 straight coming in the game, but Giannis couldn't capitalize playing against a Brooklyn team playing with a banged-up James Harden and no Kyrie Irving, as KD had a monster game, which we already talked about, and the Bucks now face a 3-2 series deficit. So, Shannon, how much did this game damage Giannis's legacy here?
Skip, this one hurts. This one might have hurt more than all the rest of them combined. Because, Skip, I get the fact that you say, well, I don't have enough help. You got Chris Middleton, who's an all-star. Not saying he's a superstar, but he is an all-star caliber player. He's been to the last 2 all-star games. You got Holiday, who made first-team all-defense, and he's been an all-star.
Yep.
So you can't use that, I don't have any help anymore. You had a golden opportunity. You had a 17-point lead against Kevin Durant and the Nets, minus Kyrie and a hobbled James Harden. And you couldn't get the deal done.
No.
Skip, I watched this. I got some tape. You know, he said something a couple of years ago about James Harden, and we were just going whoever James Harden was guarding. James Harden showed you last night.
That's funny. He got even on one play.
Watch this. People at home, look what James Harden does. They're about to come down with a double team.
Yep.
Look at James Harden.
Yep.
He waves it off. He said, no.
No, I got this.
Skip. That's a 2-time league MVP. That's a 2-time league MVP, a defensive player of the year. And we know James Harden is not the greatest defender. He waves off a double team against a 2-time league MVP. Say, no, I don't want it.
It was the ultimate humiliation.
Let that sink in for a second, people at home. You think a guy that's not a defender is going to wave off a double team? Skip, we saw Jeremy Grant last year. He wouldn't leave the side of LeBron, and LeBron didn't move. And the guy was like, go. He's like, nope, I'm not leaving this guy. James Harden says no. Skip. Giannis
and by the way, Giannis took advantage of the single coverage by a one-legged man by fading to the baseline and shooting a fall.
Fade away. Skip, look. I'm not saying he can't overcome this, because even at LeBron James's lowest, the 2011 final against the Mavs, he's won since. He's won 2 MVPs. He's won 4 championships. So if Giannis, but Skip, until he wins that, this is on his resume. Giannis, Skip, and so many times I've heard Giannis say this, I'm just doing what my coach asked me to do. Giannis, you're Defensive Player of the Year. Kevin Durant has it going. Accept the challenge. Skip, I don't want to hear from this is what he said after the game. This is what the Defensive Player of the Year a year ago said. He said, Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, and I hope he misses. If I'm Chris Middleton, if I'm True Holiday, if I'm Tuck, I'll pull him to the side. I said, look at him, Mo. You know what? If you ever say that again, we're going to fight. You the Defensive Player of the Year, and you talk about he the best player. Skip, I don't mind you giving somebody kudos if I'm not playing against you, if I'm not in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Skip, if I'm in a fight, how we in a fight? And you like, man, he really tough, Sharp. Man, that's a tough joker. Man, he gets some good blows in on you. Bro, you better shut up and help me fight.
Yeah.
Giannis, what is this? What is this? You go to Budenholzer and says, I got KD the last 5 minutes. That's what you do. Don't hide on that. I'm just doing what the coach asked me to do. I bet you Budenholzer ain't telling you to jack up them threes. You jacking up them threes. He ain't telling you to shoot no threes. You tell him about shooting threes. And he fumbled that ball, Skip. You know why he fumbled that ball? Because he thought they was going to foul him. He was trying to do something quick. He was trying to get the ball up quick before they foul him. He don't want no parts of the free throw line. And that's the reason. Now, you want to say LeBron is running from the free throw line? But Skip, LeBron wasn't running from no free throw line at 27, at 28. LeBron was going to the rack. This kid is 27, 28 years of age, and he's afraid to take advantage of a 6'11 frame when he's got James Harden, when he's got Jeff Green, when he's got Joe Harris, and he's shooting jumpers. Bro, you're going to have to win a championship in order to get some of this bitterness. And it's going to have to be more than one. Because, Skip, LeBron has won 4 championships since 2011, and that taste still lingers. People still bring that up.
Yep.
Giannis, you can't go out like, if you lose this, you ain't getting over this, bro. It's going to take a while. You're going to have to win multiple championships before you get this taste out of your mouth after what you did yesterday.
Times 10, I agree with everything you just said. But I also agree that he got one big break last night that wasn't a closeout game. He gets a shot at redemption.
Right. Yes.
He's got a game 6,
yes.
and maybe he's got a game 7 back at Brooklyn.
Well, you're right, Skip. Maybe if they win the series, we'll forget about this.
And I'm going to preface everything I say by once again saying everybody attests to the fact, our man Chris Broussard, they love Giannis because he's a great young man.
Yes.
He's great for the game. He's fun to talk to. He's very accessible to the media. Got it.
Right.
But I don't get him as a basketball player because he ain't that guy.
Yeah, he'd be a totally different.
He's not what I call a superstar because he doesn't have superstar intangibles. There's no killer in him, no killer will, no step on your throat. He's not sure of himself, and he's never been sure of himself under the brightest spotlight. Mm-hmm. When the heat is the hottest, he starts to melt right before your very eyes. He doesn't trust himself. It's why he took the Supermax to stay big fish, small market. And he's happy there, and they love him there, and God bless them all. But this is what you're going to get. You're going to be stuck with this because I've given you the history, and I don't want to go through the litany again, but he's had every year in the playoffs, he'll have a big round and a flame-out round.
Yes.
Big and flame-out. When he thinks he's got the advantage over some Orlando in the first round, look out, because he'll put up those numbers that he always puts up. So you realize yesterday, all NBA was announced, and only one player in this league got all 100 votes for first team. That guy. Giannis got every single vote. He was the only one unanimous first teamer. Mm-hmm. We know that he's been multiple times MVP. We know he's been, as you point out, Defensive Player of the Year. We know he has led PER, player efficiency rating, year after year.
Isn't he the only player that made first team on both all NBA first team offense and defense?
Yeah, okay.
He's the only one.
We got it all. None of it matters because that's all about the regular season.
Yes.
That has absolutely zero to do with what you didn't see last night, which was he just shrinks and disappears. I agree with the video you showed. James just wanted to do it back to him. To stay away. Yes. I got this guy because they have no respect for him. In the clutch.
Yes.
They know what's going to happen. He's going to fade away, literally fade to the baseline, and he's going to miss it. And then we get to the last play. It's 15.6 seconds left. He has a dunk, and Middleton hits him right in the hands.
This is James Harden. No, stay.
Yeah, stay over there. That's Landry Shamet he waved off. Wow. Okay, here we go. Middleton goes in the middle, and he just feeds him, and he's got it. This is a dunk. This is just a little dunk. You can just go right up and dunk it. But
he knows what's going to happen.
You could be right. It could be, I got to go to the free throw line and go through my 15-second routine of agony, because it's just agony watching him. You know, he's rehearsing, and then he's talking to himself. And actually, last night, he wasn't that bad. What was he, like 4-7? I don't know. If by his standards, that was money, right?
Yeah, that was still Curry, for him.
But I know who I've been betting on if he had to go to the line with 15 seconds left.
Oh, he made
he's not. He might make one, but I doubt he could make either one of those. And yet, there's also just something missing in his makeup, his basketball makeup. He just muffed the pass. It's like the guy in your sport. There are certain guys, you throw it to them on 3rd and 5 with the game on the line, and they just drop it because they just panic. They go blind, you know. He went blind on that play, and the ball goes right through his hands.
Skip, can you imagine in a situation like this, it's like Deion Sanders, Defensive Player of the Year, and in the fourth quarter, money on the line, he ain't guarding Michael Irvin. He ain't guarding Jerry Rice. Well, the coaches called for asking me to. So no, you that dog. You know who they going to. I got it. Y'all rotate the coverage to the other side. I got him. That's the way you do it, Giannis. Skip, we've seen LeBron.
I'll give you a quick example of that. It would be the 1994 NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park. Greatest one-on-one matchup I ever saw. It's the one I would have paid a lot of money to sit in the first row to watch. I was sitting in the press box to watch this one, but it was San Francisco jumping up on Dallas 21-0. So it was just like last night. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. And Deion said, I know what they got to do. They have to throw it to 88 every time. And Troy Aikman was not a high-volume passer until then. And he had to throw it to 88 nearly every play from there on. So we had 3 quarters of Deion versus Michael. best friends in the world. It's one-on-one. Who's going to win?
That's it.
And in the end, Dion won because he got away with the call,
Right.
a little armbar call. But the point was, he just said, I'm traveling. Wherever he goes, I'm just going to go with him.
With Jerry.
Yeah.
Dion travel. Like, hey, I know that's Jerry Rice.
I got it.
I'm not ducking that.
I got it.
Giannis, you can't duck KD.
Duck. No, but he just does. He's got duck in him. He just... There's something huge missing in his psychological basketball makeup.
It is.
That makes him turn into only a star in the postseason without the super in front of the name. He's got the super max. He's got all the accolades you could ever want in the regular season. He's like, we're beyond first ballot Hall of Famer. If you just go on his regular season accolades,
he all in the Hall, yeah.
I mean, he's starting to get into top 10, top 5 discussion, right?
When he's done his numbers, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame. He don't play another game. He's a Hall of Famer. With 2 MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year, he's there with all the All-NBA teams he's made. He's already there, Skip. But there's something to be said. A guy that's 6'11", that he won't post up a 6'6" guy.
No.
He shoots a fadeaway. Okay. He has Jeff Green on him. They first of all, the mere fact that they got a guy that hadn't played.
Green?
James Harden was on one leg.
Yeah. But think about Jeff Green. He's 34. It seems like he's 44, but he's on his 11th team. And in the fourth quarter, much of the time, he was in single coverage on Giannis.
And guess what he plays? He said, I know you're trying to come to the basket. I'm just going to let you run over me. He picked up 3 offensive fouls because he doesn't have anything else, Skip.
It's your sensibility. Do you understand what needs to get done? What's your basketball IQ? I think it's pretty low. I think he has no idea how to get it done with what he has to work with.
He gets the ball, Skip. Okay, he backs it out. He's going to try to go. Okay, you're trying to go to the hole. Okay, I'm going to get right here. I'm going to play you for the crossover Euro. And when you got the ball in your right hand, you're going to step to the left. I'm just going to slide. And you're going to hit me in the chest, and they're going to go the other way.
Okay, so in the end, stars win playoff games.
Yes.
This star had a 17-point lead mid-third quarter, and he couldn't hold it because it's on his head.
Yes.
You can put it on the coach's head if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Skip. If they don't win this series,
I think
I don't see how he comes back.
I agree.
I don't recommend. Look, I don't do that. I don't call for people's job, even though people they call for my job all the time. But I'm good. But Skip, I don't know how 3 years in a row going out like goats. Because last year was unacceptable, Skip. Because even before Giannis hurt his ankle, they were getting outplayed by the Heat.
Pathetic.
Yes, and then you lose 4 straight to Toronto. At the time, they were still the baby dinosaur.
They were. I agree.
But Giannis, you can't let KD. KD is great. But you got to say, I got to try to stop something.
Okay. Well, he's got one shot at redemption.
Felt like it got to him. Yeah, and you got to get it done in the playoffs. That's when it matters. No mercy. Kevin Durant's monster game had social media buzzing yesterday as the Nets beat the Bucks 114-108. Brooklyn had fallen behind by 17 points despite James Harden's return to the lineup, but KD put the team on his shoulders and finished with 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists while playing all 48 minutes. Every single minute. It was the second playoff triple-double of Durant's career and the first time ever a player went for 45, 15, 10 in a postseason game. Shannon, was this Kevin Durant's greatest game ever?
Yeah, this is his greatest game, Skip. Now, that shot wasn't the biggest shot. Obviously, the Game 3 shot of the 2017 final, Skip, was a bigger shot. But for a game, Skip, I don't know if people realize this, but if I went back and I looked, Klay Thompson was 11 of 18, had 6 threes for 30 points in that Game 3. Steph Curry was 5 of 9, had 26 points in that Game 3. Kevin Durant led him with 31 points. You look at what they asked him to do last night. KD, we need 30 to 40, and we need it bad. KD, we need at least 12, 13 rebounds. He gets you 17. But we need you to get double-digit assists because we need you to put other guys in great position so they can score. He did that. He led everybody in every statistical category that touched the floor. Points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. And he played every single minute of the ball game. And he said, Coach, if you need to give me a blow, I'll come out. But I feel pretty good. And Coach wrote it. This is the greatest game I've seen Kevin Durant play. I don't know what else he could have done And I was hoping that this Skip, I didn't want him to, I started rooting for him. At that point in time, I had thrown like, man, I do got 3 cases of dude with Skip. But I don't want him to squander that.
But at that point, you could just see it coming. You just say, it's inevitable.
But Skip, but no, it's like Tom Brady, Skip. Think about that 505, what it would have been had they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That great performance is squandered. We've seen that, like we've seen Galarraga lose that no-hit. He lose a perfect game on a blown cut. Like, come on, don't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for it. I was mad like, damn, KD, I want to see a 50-piece triple-double.
It sounds better. Yeah.
Can you imagine? 49 is good, but like, oh, man.
Yeah.
But, Skip, this is... I don't know what... this is the greatest I've seen him play. The efficiency at all 3 levels. He shot the 3 well. He got the mid-range well. He finished at the basket. Now, he did miss 3 free throws, which is very uncommon for him. But it just shows you how aggressive he was because he got to the line 16 times.
He did.
So he wasn't settling. Giannis, as great a shooter as Kevin Durant is, he got to the line 16 times. As poor a shooter as Giannis is, he got to the line 7 times. What's wrong with this picture, Skip?
Yeah.
Skip, this was great. I hate it now. After seeing this, I hate that teams didn't ask Kevin Durant to do this more. Because I know now I see what he could be. Now, I'm not saying he's going to give you this. This is a virtuoso. Now, he's not going to give you one of these every game. But now I know Kevin Durant could have been doing this all along if they'd have asked this from him. But, Skip, this is it. I can only go back to Magic. This might be one of the top 5 playoff performances I've ever witnessed. Now, Tim Duncan, I like Tim Duncan because Tim Duncan almost had a quadruple-double with a 20-20 triple-double, but he had 8 assists. He was 2 assists away from having a quadruple-double. That performance is a top 5 performance for me that I've seen with my own eyes. Now, that might be something. I know Wilt had some 40 rebound playoff games and 30, all that. That what I saw last night is a top 5 moment for me.
So, as you well know, from having to deal with me for 5 years on the show, I'm the biggest Kevin Durant fan.
Yes, you are.
And this is a tough call for me because, as Steve Nash did say after the game, this was historic, this was signature, this was ridiculous. And I agree with all 3 terms.
Yep.
I co-sign. But as great as this was, it didn't end this series. It's still to be determined what happens. Will Giannis rise and shine and redeem? We'll see. I told you to start the show. If they could cap this off with at least just beating Milwaukee and getting to the conference final, if they could cap this off with winning the conference final over whomever, we'll talk about that later, and winning the championship, then you'd look back at this as the turning point. You'd say, that is sheer, utter, all-time greatness. But we don't know that yet. So it's to be determined. But I do know what happened in 2017, and it was Game 3. And I want our viewers to remember the context of this. Kevin Durant, on July the 4th, had left Oklahoma City, left Russell Westbrook high and dry, and he left him high and dry. And he joined forces with the enemy, the team that you had down 3-1 in the conference finals. You went to them. And the basketball world said, that's shameful. You are weak. That's lame, right? So the weight of the NBA
You joined the gang
world,
that beat you up.
You did. And the whole NBA world is waiting for him to fall on his face with the dynasty team in the NBA Finals. So at home, they held serve, as you would predict they would, and won easily games 1 and 2. But now will the series start in Game 3? And going to the 4th quarter, Cleveland led that game 94-89. This is in the Kings' house, and the Kings having a pretty big game of his own. So this is going to be mano a mano down the stretch in the 4th quarter in the Kings' palace. And Kevin scores 14 in the 4th quarter. That's pretty great. And it's a nip-tuck game. LeBron scored 7 in the 4th quarter. Wasn't as good, but his numbers for the game were big. But if we could look at what started happening in the 4th quarter, it goes back and forth and back and forth. And just real quick, Kevin came in at the 9-minute mark, and he immediately hits 2 big free throws, to cut the lead back to 5. So LeBron leads 5 with 8:33, and then 7:52 to go. He drives it and gets it up off the glass to cut it to 3. So he's just saving them. 6:07, he hits big 3 to cut it back to 2. So LeBron's close, 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 and Kevin keeps saying, no, 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 not in your house. Like, I'm going to do this. And then 1:15 left. There's a baseline jump shot that gets lost in the shuffle, if we could see this one, because this is a big shot to cut it to 2.
Or double T.
Yeah. And he fades away and makes that shot. That's a hard shot.
Yeah.
And that,
because he's fading to his left.
That cut it to 2 because it's a 4-point game. And then here's LeBron. Remember this fateful shot? LeBron drives it on Iguodala, kicks it to Kyle Korver, who misses the 3, and here comes Kevin up, and LeBron doesn't honor him, and Kevin shoots it right in his face, and that finally gave them a 1-point lead. That was the shot of shots.
I was at that game.
That's 45 seconds left in the game. That was a big shot that tilted the whole series in Golden State's favor.
Do you believe that game? Do you believe he played better in that game or this game?
Well, the magnitude of what he did to LeBron, literally in his face, in his house, down the stretch with 14 in the last 9 minutes of the fourth quarter, the magnitude of that is slightly greater than what he did last night.
But here's why I believe last night was better. Because he's already up 2-0. Even if he loses this game, he's still up 2-1. You lose this game, you're going back to Milwaukee with a chance for them to close you out.
Okay.
And so, he had others, he got 56 points from Clay and Steph.
Mm-hmm. But he was the man in the fourth quarter. They were nowhere to be found down this stretch.
Think about it. He scored 14 in that fourth quarter. He got you 20 last night.
You got you 20.
And they were down 17.
Okay, and I will give you this about last night. He won that game in spite of James Harden and in spite of Joe Harris, because if you'd told me going in that James Harden would just sort of stand around and go 1 for 10, and that Joe Harris, a 3-point shooting champ, would go 2 of 11 from the floor and 1 of 7 from 3, I'd say you got no chance. So he did that. He overcame those 2 players who did not go along for the ride.
Landry Shamet came in and hit some big shots.
He hit some big shots, but Blake hit a couple, and then Jeff Green.
Blake and Jeff Green. Jeff Green was sensational. Skip, this is because we've never seen this kind of response. We've never seen this Kevin Durant have this kind of responsibility. Skip. This is why I said, a lot of people can do a lot of things. It's just when you have responsibility, it's kind of like becoming an adult. When you're a child, Skip, you don't have the same level of responsibility.
So I'm going to drive this home. At game 3, 1:15's left. This is the turning point of the series. LeBron, and you know my issues with LeBron. He drives it on Iguodala and looks like he has a step, but it's going to be the Giannis issue. Do I really want to go shoot those free throws? You're up 2. Cleveland's up 2 at that point, and he makes the right basketball play. He kicks it to a Kyle Korver who's never been thrust into that spotlight to make that shot. If Kyle Korver drains it, you're up 5 with a minute left. Well, you might be able to hang on to that, right? But he makes the right basketball play. Korver misses it, and guess who gets the rebound? KD gets the rebound and dribbles it up court.
And he's smart enough to know the kid, like, you know what? They're not set. Let me push it. Let me, and he gets the shot,
Okay, so for the game, he goes 31, 9, and 4. So those numbers aren't remotely like last night. Then remember, he did it again in game 3 of the next year in LeBron's house in a turning point game. And in that game, he went massive because he went 43 and had 13 rebounds and 7 assists. So that was more like last night. But the game wasn't that close, and it wasn't a fourth quarter game.
But, Skip, I don't know. That's the game of his life. I don't know if he can ever play another game. That complete, Skip, that efficient, both ends of the court, that engaged.
I got it. But he was at home against Giannis, and this was at LeBron against LeBron in the finals.
But I'm saying, Skip, it's the responsibility. Having Clay, having Steph, he had none of those.
Yeah, but everybody's waiting for him to collapse, and he didn't.
Yeah, Skip. He had every reason to lose this game last night. Skip, you're down 17. You got James Harden on one leg. Kyrie not here. You got the only guy that made All-NBA on both teams, Giannis, offense and defense. And he's like, nope. Get me close.
So you do agree he is the best player on the planet?
He was the best player. He was the best player in the playoffs. He's the best player in the playoffs.
And you started rooting for him yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
I think who didn't root for him? I mean, it was incredible what we were watching.
Only LeBron wasn't rooting for him.
No.
He was not rooting.
You know LeBron.
We're going to talk about this.
You know what LeBron thinks of KD. He's the only man that believes he can look him in his eye.
You got to pay respect where respect's due,
You
right?
know that.
Let me explain to LeBron later on in the show. We're still unpacking this one, guys.
No mercy.
KD played all 48 minutes in last night's 114-108 win, and the Nets needed every bit of it. Durant finished with his second career playoff triple-double, notching 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists as Brooklyn took a 3-2 series lead. The Nets will now look to close the series out tomorrow night, while the Bucks have to feel a golden opportunity slipped away there. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joins us now. Chris, how shocked were you that the Nets came back down 17 with 7 minutes left in the third?
This is the God's honest truth, Jen. Not at all. Not at all. As I was watching that game in the first half, right, and the Bucks are up 14, 15, 17, whatever, I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is manageable. This is doable. All right, and then obviously it gets early in the third quarter. They're still down double digits. I'm still thinking, okay, the Nets could rally for a few reasons. One, guys, we got to admit, 17 points as a lead in today's NBA is not what it used to be. We see this a lot. We just saw Atlanta rally from an 18-point deficit. With the prominence of the three-point shot now, that's not, 17 used to be, it's over pretty much. Now it's got to be close to 30 for me to really feel like, oh, they got no chance of coming back. Look at the Clippers against Dallas, down 30-11 or 30-13. You know, we've seen these things happen time and time again now. So I didn't think 17 points was insurmountable. And I felt like, okay, the Nets are a good three-point shooting team, so maybe Joe Harris gets it going. I thought with James Harden that he was going to start hitting shots. He hadn't even scored to that point. And I was like, at some point, he's going to hit some shots. He's just too good. He never got it going, but he did hit the one shot, the floater on the left side off the glass, three-point play. And that's what started the run. And then he made two incredible passes for backdoor layups to Kevin Durant and Joe Harris. And then Durant, obviously phenomenal performance. But to that point, he had been really good, but he hadn't just taken over. You know, it was looking like, Skip, kind of what you and I said, okay, he'll end up with 35-ish, something like that.
Yep.
But then, obviously, he just caught fire. So I really felt like the Nets still were very much in that game, even at that point early in the third quarter. And, look, the Bucks did help him out. Giannis, from not guarding James Harden, Kevin Durant at all. Not guarding him. The Bucks didn't even double KD to get the ball out of his hands or double him or whatever. And so they made some bad plays themselves. Giannis not taking advantage of Harden in the post. Giannis dropping the pass with 15 seconds left from Chris Middleton for a layup or dunk. So the Bucks shot themselves in the foot too. But I wasn't surprised because 17 points. Look, the Bucks should have been up by 30. That would have been a lot more comfortable for them than 17.
I agree. I wasn't shocked at all because I saw this happen on Sunday, even though they were hitting threes, and I tweeted it. I said, I know you're hitting threes, Milwaukee, but y'all need to take y'all butt down inside because if you ever go cold, you see what's going to happen, and that's what happened last night, Chris. Brook Lopez is 7 foot tall. They got nobody because they're using Blake Griffin to guard Giannis. So that means James Harden or Jeff Green is going to guard Brook Lopez. Well, they can guard him if you're 35 feet from the basket. Get your butt down on the block, Lopez. Giannis, you got Joe Harris. You got Jeff Green. You got a one-legged James Harden. And you shooting threes? You shooting fadeaway jumpers? Why? And I don't care. Giannis has been hiding behind this Chris Broussard for the longest time. And you keep voting for him for defensive all-NBA team and defensive player of the year. But he keeps ducking great assignments. And all he wants to do is talk about, I just do what the coach is asking me to do, and he's the greatest player. I was just praying, hoping that he missed. What? Chris Broussard, have you ever heard a guy, If we're not playing, if I'm not going against that guy, go ahead.
It's a problem. It's a problem on many fronts. Number one, look, I've been over there to Europe in their, practices and games with coaches. You think college coaches run the roost. I mean, in Europe, the coach runs everything. So I get his mentality is probably, I'm going to listen to the coach, but he does. You're right, Shannon. You can't deny it. He's got to go to Budenholzer. Budenholzer should do it himself, but Giannis has to go to him, too, and say, give me Kevin Durant. They're the same position. I mean, even if he was a point guard, I'd still say Giannis should try to get on him. But you are the same position, and you still didn't do it. I talked to a former teammate of Larry Bird's this morning, and he said, look, Bird couldn't guard anybody. But if somebody was going off like that, Bird would come in the huddle. And he wasn't saying it hypothetically. He was saying there were times Bird came in the huddle and said, look, this is ridiculous. Give him to me. I'll guard him. And so the fact that Giannis didn't do that is a real blight on his resume for sure.
Prime example, 1988. Dominique got that 47 against Larry. He said, Kevin McHale, you're not doing anything with him. Hell, I might as well take my crack at him.
And what was Larry doing back?
Oh, Larry gave it to him.
He did.
But Skip, sometimes it's just the appearance that, you know what, our best player wants to guard their best player.
I got it. Okay, back to Jenny's question. I feel like both of you are using a little bit of 20/20 hindsight, because I must admit, as the smoke in my head clears, and again, I'm rooting differently than you're rooting because we got cases of due on it, but I've got, what'd you give me, 4 points?
I gave you 4 points.
And I'm thinking, maybe there's a chance, but I doubted it. When they went down 17 with 7 minutes left in the third quarter, to that point, Milwaukee had answered everything they threw at them. Yep. They threw Jeff Green at them. They threw Blake at them from the three-point line. And Milwaukee would just come right down and say, no, we got this. Mm-hmm. Middleton three, just whoever. Sometimes it would be Giannis. Sometimes Giannis hit a big three at one point.
They rattled around like Kawhi did.
It did. But my point is, the reason I didn't buy it, the reason I thought my 4 points were just going to go up in smoke and be useless to me, is because of James Harden and to some degree Joe Harris. In my wildest dreams, I never could imagine James Harden, who I consider the greatest savant of a perimeter scorer I have ever seen. He is a wizard with the basketball. He played last night without even really playing. Yeah. He looked like he hadn't played basketball in 2 or 3 years. And I remind everybody, he did play against Boston in the first round, and in the closeout game, he went 34, 10, and 10. Right. So what happened to that guy? He was a shell of himself. He was mostly a liability. I agree with Chris. He made a couple of nice passes. He also threw a bunch of loopy, careless passes where I'm saying, what are you doing? Because if he ever got stuck with the ball in his hands, he couldn't even hold on to the basketball.
To your point, Skip, everybody that's been injured and coming to the playoffs, they're on a minutes restriction.
Sure.
Here's this guy plays 46 minutes. Not 36, not 26, 46.
And every second was devoted to protecting his hamstring. Yes. Every last second, I'm going to hide on defense, and I'm going to try not to screw it up on offense. Right. So if we could see the 9 missed shots that he had last night, they weren't even close. Could we just bang through them real quick just to remind everybody, this is why I didn't think they could come back. Here they are in a row. That's clank left. Then here he is, step back. I think, oh, that's got to be good. It's short. Everything was short. He didn't seem to have any legs under him at all. That doesn't really count, but whatever. That's a heave. And then here we go again, and he tries to beg for the foul that didn't even get touched. And then I thought, oh, that's got to be good, and it's short. And then I think, maybe that was awkward looking to me. That didn't even look like that guy anymore. And then finally I thought, really, maybe? No, it's wide left and off the front of the rim. And then, come on, we need one, and it's way short.
Everything's short. He got no legs, Skip.
No legs. Like this is hard to overcome when that guy is doing that. Psychologically, you're happy he's out there, just his presence. Right. But when he's missing 9 shots and making only one little floater off the glass, it's hard to overcome that. It's hard to overcome that Joe Harris goes 2 for 11 from the floor and 1 of 7 from 3. So, yeah, I'm shocked that they came back because, remember, Kevin Durant's up against his nemesis. Nobody guards him any tougher, any smarter, any harder than Tuck does. P.J. Tucker was all up into him, just like he was. What happened in Game 3?
Yeah.
Game 4, look at the numbers from those two games.
11 of 28.
11 of 28 and 9 of 25. And it looked like a repeat of that in the first quarter, and he sort of scratched and clawed out 11 points in the second quarter and was on his way to 11 in the third. Well, I didn't see 20 coming in the fourth quarter because that makes it even more spectacular because he demolished his nemesis in the fourth quarter. Okay?
But Skip, the thing is that when you watch a team... Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I disagree with you guys on Harden. Like, I thought Harden's presence was huge. Now, obviously, he was a shell of himself. But the fact, for the first 3 quarters, he was handling the ball a lot. Just him being a ball handler, not having KD handler. Remember, yesterday when we talked, before we knew Harden was going to play, we thought KD would be bringing the ball up and not only have to be the scorer, but the facilitator. Obviously, he had 10 assists, but the fact that he didn't have to just facilitate for the first 3 quarters, I thought was huge. And Milwaukee still viewed Harden as a threat, you know, and so I think that eased things up a little bit. KD was phenomenal, but if he's got to bring the ball up the court all 4 quarters, I'm not sure he can have that type of game that he goes off the way he did. The fourth quarter, Harden was just giving him the ball and on the side. I agree with that. But I thought his floor game was important. And he had no legs, so he couldn't hit his jump shots. He didn't do anything but shoot threes because he didn't want to go to the hole, but I thought he was big.
Chris,
46 minutes?
But here's the point that we're making. A guy plays 46 minutes and you don't attack him. Everybody knows. Why wouldn't you attack him? Make him guard, make him shuffle, make him slide. The weakest get eaten.
I agree with that.
Like isolated.
Yes. That's the problem that I have. Okay, you know.
That's on Milwaukee, right?
Yes, that's my point. You got Holiday. Don't be selling for those threes. If you look at the fourth quarter, they were 1 of 6 from 3. The Nets were 4 of 8. That's how the Atlanta Falcons lost the Super Bowl.
That's true.
Because they're throwing just as much as the Patriots. You got a 25-point lead. Why are you throwing as much as the team that's down 25? You run it. So why are you taking as many threes as the team that's behind by 16? So you give them an opportunity to get back into the ball game. Go back and look at Chris. I said it on Sunday. You can see the way the Bucks are playing. They're not taking advantage of what their strength is that their size. They got Lopez, they got Giannis, they got big guys. And if you look at Kevin Durant, look what Kevin Durant did last night, the last 5 minutes of the ball game. He got off of Tucker, and he went and got Middleton because he said Middleton is the guy that can beat us, not P.J. Tucker. He says, I conserved enough energy. Let me go get Middleton.
Okay, and one last point, back to Chris Broussard. James Harden last night was all about no sudden movements.
Yes.
With the ball in his hands, did he ever attack? He got loose for that one little floater off but he was kind of going half speed because he was wide open. The reason he was leading the league in assists through much of the year, he just gets in the lane like that. Right. He just sort of just cuts in you can't keep him out of the lane. Well, they knew from jump last night, he can't get in the lane.
Right.
So to me, that's an offensive liability. And in the fourth quarter, Kevin Durant's bringing up the ball himself a lot. And by the way, last quick point.
No, fourth quarter, but you...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, Harden, that's the thing, though. The opponent never views Harden as a liability on offense. So even if he's not hot, you still got to worry about that dude.
And by the way, P.J. Tucker played 33 minutes and guarded Kevin as hard as he could guard him and scored 0 points and had no assists and 4 rebounds.
This is why Kevin Durant was able to play 48 minutes, because he guarded P.J. Tucker. P.J. Tucker just goes stand in the corner. You got to make, if your guy's going to play that much, Chris, you got to make him work at some point in time on the defensive end. Because if you don't, he's saving all his energy for the offensive end. You got to take some of that zap out of it.
No mercy. All right, let's revisit this morning's big breaking news. Kawhi Leonard is expected to miss tonight's critical Game 5 with the knee injury he suffered late in Game 4. Leonard missed the final few minutes of the Clippers' blowout win and apparently told teammates yesterday to expect him to miss tonight's game. His status for the rest of the series remains in doubt at this point. Chris Broussard is still with us. So, Chris, who wins tonight? And now, with this news, who wins the series?
Well, you guys remember I was on yesterday, and I said, deep down inside of me, something was saying, don't count out the Nets 100%. All right, even without Kyrie, and at that point, we thought they'd be without James Harden. Don't count them out completely. Well, there is nothing. There is not a fiber of my being. There's not a whisper in my soul telling me to give the Clippers a chance without Kawhi Leonard. So they lose tonight. Can they win a game 6 in Staples Center without Kawhi? There's a chance. They're 11-9 without him. They're a decent team even without Kawhi. But they won't win this series. So they lose tonight without Kawhi. And if he misses the rest of the series, they're done. Whether it's in 6, whether it's in 7, they will lose to Utah without Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, for all of his flaws as a leader, he's the heartbeat of this team. He's what makes them a contender. His guys can go out there and know that 9 nights out of 10, they got the best player on the floor. Other than when they may be facing LeBron or Kevin Durant, they know. Otherwise, we got the best player on the floor, and that gives you confidence. Yep. He's also a champion. He's a 2-time champion. So Rondo, yeah, he's a champion, but clearly he's not what he used to be. Serge Ibaka, a champion. He's hurt and not playing. Paul George, God bless him, he's a great player. He's not engendering that type of confidence in his teammates. We always talk about Paul has issues with his own confidence from game to game. Yep. So how in the world is he engendering that in his teammates? So they got to say the right things, and I know Ty Lue will, do his best to get him motivated, next man up, all of that stuff. But without Kawhi Leonard, man, they don't have a chance. They will not win this series. I would be gobsmacked if they won this series without Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. I had picked the Jazz before I got the news of Kawhi. And you look at Utah. Utah's won 35 of the last 36 home games in which Donovan Mitchell has played. So they're a very good home team. They're the best home team in basketball. They had the best overall record in basketball. Skip, L.A. shot 45% in the first 2 games of Utah. They shot 52% in Staples. There's a big difference between you look at Marcus Smart shooting in Staples and you look at Marcus Smart shooting in Utah. Everybody. But Kawhi was the guy that And Ty Lue penciled this and, well, you know what? Kawhi's going to give me somewhere between 28 and 35. I got that down. Okay, Skip, so where that 28 and 35 coming from? So the question is, who's going to be the Clippers' Jeff Green? Who's going to be the Clippers' Blake Griffin? Is it going to be Reggie Jackson? Because Reggie played well the first 3 games. She didn't play well. His services were not needed in Game 4. So is Reggie going to take up and fill that void by Kawhi? Kawhi's absent. Marcus Morris, is he going to continue to shoot hot? Now, if you really want to be playoff P, do what KD did last night, Paul George, and then I think, I won't mention pandemic. Because we done they done opened up California, now, Skip. Yeah. We free to go. We can move about, do what we want to do. Hey.
Except in my house. Yeah. Go ahead.
You don't count. So, hey, Paul George, if you come out here and have one of the performances that KD had last night, we're gonna lift, the mandate.
So, congratulations, Shannon Sharp. You are off the hook. Congratulations, LeBron James. You are off the hook. Because early this morning, when I heard the news about Chris Paul III into COVID protocol, I thought, this is it. The heavens have opened. It is the Clippers' time. It is the Clippers' turn. It is the Clippers' town. I was even going to bring back my favorite New Balance commercial. I was going to show that it was Kawhi Town. I was going to show the dangling keychain with the crown on it today because yesterday, Kawhi Leonard made first team All-NBA and LeBron made second team. And I thought, wait a second, if Chris Paul's gone for X games of the conference finals, this is it for the Clippers. And we don't know who's going to be left standing in the East because there are injuries everywhere.
Yeah.
It's so unpredictable. And I thought maybe the Clippers will end up just being the healthiest team. But I also warned both of you yesterday, I never trust my man Kawhi Leonard when it comes to the littlest injuries. And I doubted he would. I told you yesterday on the air, I doubt he'll play Game 5. Now the reports have it, it looks like he's gone for whatever's left in this series. And what's left is 2 more games, 2 Utah wins.
Skip, so it might be serious then, Skip. It might be something that needs some work.
I don't know. With Kawhi Leonard, it's not will he play hurt. It's will he play nicked, because it could just be a nick. It could be a little hyperextension that gives him a little bit of pain. When he woke up this morning, he said, you know what, I can't go. It's just who he is. I know Kawhi Leonard. I know people who are very close to Kawhi Leonard. And I know what happened in San Antonio when he missed 73 games with a thigh bruise. He wanted out of San Antonio, but they called it tendinosis.
Yeah, that what it was.
Baloney. It was a thigh bruise. Tony Parker had a ruptured quadriceps tendon. And as he said, my injury is 100 times worse than Kawhi's. But that's just who Kawhi is. Now, he wanted out of small town San Antonio by way of Toronto to get back to his hometown, home area of Los Angeles. And he pulled it off with a championship along the way. Yeah. Way to go. That was beautiful. Way to go, Uncle Dennis. I give you all high props for what you pulled off. But no player in my history has tormented me, has tortured me more than Kawhi Leonard has, because he's just one of those guys. He is a great player. He's an all-time great player. Yeah. For the longest in San Antonio, he was my favorite player, but he will not play nicked. And I'm going to guess he's just nicked now. Did he tear a little cartilage? Is he hyperextended? It's possible.
Right.
It's also highly possible he just said, I don't feel right and I'm not going to play. And you know and I know that will just tear the heart out of the Clippers. What? So to your point, can Paul George go superstar tonight? I doubt it. Can Reggie Jackson go star tonight, or Marcus Morris go star tonight and drain 6 or 7 threes? I doubt it.
It's capable. Reggie,
I know.
He played well to skip the first 3 games.
No. The Clippers are done because Kawhi is done. I'm sorry, we got all the way to the mountaintop, and now we are tumbling back head over heels down the mountain.
Well, Chris, you know, sometimes what the mistake that a lot of teams make is that when the opposing team loses a star player, a superstar player, in Kawhi's case, they underestimate them. And they come out, oh, yeah, it's going to be a breeze. And the next thing you know, you find yourself down 15, 20 points, and you've given this team confidence.
You could be right, but Donovan Mitchell didn't make first team, second team, or third team All-NBA, and he's going to come out on fire. He's going to be spitting fire tonight.
And that's the card, the joker that you had in your back pocket. Because come fourth quarter, you can say, Kawhi, lock some of this down.
Go take him. Yeah,
right.
So now, basically, are you going to expend Paul George? You're going to ask Paul George? Oh, now you're going to get your opportunity. Because remember, you was over there kid the last 2 games. Oh, Pat Bam, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell didn't make All-NBA. He got something for it.
Well, he does have something for him. But this game, the NBA is won with star power.
Yes.
And if you lose Kawhi Leonard, you lose. It's as simple as that.
Is Mike Conley going to play, Chris? You heard anything about Mike Conley?
No, I mean, it's the same as these past several games. You just don't know. But, look, I think you guys mentioned, and I had Mitchell on my 3rd team All-NBA, my official ballot, but he's going to be upset by that. There's no doubt about it.
$33 million.
And he's right. And yes, that cost him that much money. And think about Utah's makeup. They've got 1 superstar. Is Joe Ingles going to look past the rest of the Clippers because Kawhi's not there? Is Bogdanovich going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a bunch of stars that might look at the rest of the Clippers like, man, we got this.
No, they've got 1 star.
They've got role players.
Well, they got half a star in the 6th man of the year.
Right.
I don't think they're... Yeah, Clarkson.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to look over the Clippers, especially losing the last 2 games, too. So, yeah, I'm with you guys. It's over.
And back to Chris Paul. Chris Paul says, I don't know what I got to do. I done hurt my hamstring. I done hurt my knee. I done hurt my shoulder. Now I'm in COVID. I finally get to the Western Conference Final. I'm healthy. Damn, no, I'm not healthy.
I feel for him. I do. It's not a fun situation. Chris, thank you for joining us.
No mercy.
Saturday on Fox, Nolan Arenado and the Cardinals take on Ronald Acuna Jr. and the Braves, or the White Sox battle the Astros, or Reds Padres. It all starts at 7 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Check local listings for the game in your area. Kevin Durant's monster game had everyone buzzing yesterday as the Nets beat the Bucks 114-108. Brooklyn had fallen behind by 17 points despite James Harden's return to the lineup. But KD put the team on his shoulders and finished with 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists while playing all 48 minutes. And afterward, Durant talked about this game and how it was proof he can do more than just get buckets. Take a listen.
The perception of me is that I can score the basketball well, but any team that I've played on, I've been asked to do pretty much everything from rebounding to defending to initiating to scoring. I might not be, I might not do it all the time, but I do a little bit of everything out there.
A little bit of everything. Fox Sports NBA analyst Steven Jackson joining us now. Stack, what was your biggest takeaway from KD's performance, and what a performance last night?
Big players step up in big games. I mean, that's basically it. This is why all the basketball players, through all of the ridicule he's taken, through all the bashing and the hating he's been taking, all the basketball players have always spoke highly on KD because we know he's the unicorn. We know he's different. You've never seen nothing like it, and that's what he did last night. Even with James being out there, just his presence was big, but KD did a lot. And I think KD could have had 60 if they would have stopped letting him bring the ball up and just gave it to him in the post. He would have had more energy. He would have got more points. He worked hard. He worked harder for those points than he had to. If he could just came down and posted up, he probably would have had 60. But he did what he needed to do as a star, as one of the best players in the game. He did what he needed to do to keep the series going. And as a star player, that's how you have to perform in the season-ending game.
Now, Stacks, I tweeted yesterday, this is KD's greatest game. This is the best game I've ever seen him play, given what they've asked of him. And I know KD says, well, everywhere I've been, I've done a little bit of everything. But KD, what they asked you to do last night, they've never asked you to do before on a continuous basis. Because you had Russ and you had Harden when you was in OKC. Steven Adams did the dirty work. Serge Ibaka did the dirty work. You go to Golden State. You have other scores. So really, you could just score because you had Draymond, who was still Draymond, really running the offense. Draymond was the point forward. And Steph and Clay. And you go to Brooklyn. And you have James Harden, who's running the show. James Harden would have led the league in assists had he not gotten hurt. And you have Kyrie. So given what they were asking you to do last night, James Harden, he was out there, and granted, his presence was enough because they still had to respect him. They respected him so much, they put Holiday on him. And we know what Holiday represents on the defensive end. And no Kyrie. So for the first time this year, they say, KD, we need you to lead us in every statistical category. We need you to do that. But we need you to do it against Giannis, too. He said, okay, I got you. What you need me to do? What you need? How many points you need? Well, we gonna need 30 to 40. Well, I get you one fewer than 50. What about rebounds? How many you need? Well, can you get us 13? I get you 17. What about assists? Well, 8 will be good. I'm gonna get you 10. So I'm gonna get you a trip dub, and I'm gonna lead in everything. I'm gonna lead you in steals and block shots also. Everybody that touched the floor last night, Stacks, he had the best across all the categories. Kevin Durant, and the efficiency. He got 49 points on 23 shots, Stack. Where they do that at? We up here praising guys shooting 28 times, getting 32 points. And we talking about, ooh, he had a game, didn't he? Dude, he should have 32 points. And he took 28 shots. KD took 23. But the reason why he had so much energy, Stack, is that they didn't make him work on the defensive end. He was standing in the corner guarding P.J. Tucker. You know when you got a guy and he got to carry that kind of offensive workload, I'm going to make his butt work on the defensive end. I'm going to put him in picks. I'm going to make him feel the presence. They let him conserve too much energy. And my last point, Giannis, I don't know what you got going on in your mind, bro, but you can't let this happen. You can't let KD go wild like this and have no iron in the fire. The mistake that they made, Stacks, is that they let him get going. They didn't blitz him, and they let him get a rhythm, and you played this game. You know any great offensive player, get a rhythm, I don't care what defensive player you throw at him after that, you can't touch him.
I played against KD in the Western Conference Finals, and you can't do nothing but just make it difficult for him. PJ Tucker is doing his best he can, but you cannot stop KD, especially if he gets to rolling like that. And one thing that Milwaukee did not do, they did not take advantage of none of those mismatches. When KD was guarding Lopez, they should have posted him up. Whoever James was guarding, they should have went at James.
Thank you.
Budenholzer, you coached under Popovich. You need to call Pop and get some toolage, because Pop and Don Nelson, two coaches I played for, they were the best at taking stuff away and exploiting mismatches. Milwaukee did not do that at all last night, and they paid for it.
So, Steven, I see quite a collection behind you right now. Any KDs up in that sneaker collection?
Yeah, I got KDs right here, Skip.
Do you?
Real close.
Good for you.
Real close.
Boom.
Real close.
Boom, done.
Right here.
Oh, you trying to show me up in the sneaker closet? I see what you're trying to do.
It.
So, Steven, speaking of that 2012 conference finals, I remember it painfully all too well. Your Spurs, my Spurs, went up 2-0, and then you got obliterated by KD and company. And obviously, it's Russ and it's James Harden coming off the bench. But I assume there were some moments when you tried to guard KD. Am I right? I don't remember a specific moment. But what was that like?
It was tough, Skip. I mean, I got a steal maybe once or twice, but a 7-foot guy that could put the ball on the floor, that shoots with his accuracy, it's really nothing you can do. It's really nothing you can do. You can try to be physical with him, but the way he handled the ball and just his shot is so pure. The best thing you do is to try to start a fight and get him out of his game. That don't work. Just hang it up. Just hang it up.
Did you try?
I didn't really try to start a fight with him because the respect was there. We was out there competing, and KD is not disrespectful on the court. He goes by his business. He kind of like Tim Duncan. If you get in his face, he's not going to back down. But at the same time, he stays focused. And you see last night in a big game like that, you got to maintain your composure. You got to stay focused. They was down huge in the first half. He never got off his game. He stayed focused. He kept grinding, and that's a testament to him.
So, Steven, in your basketball life, have you ever seen anything quite like Kevin Durant at about 7 feet tall?
No, I haven't. Honestly, I haven't. Dirk was, shooting-wise, Dirk was real close, but KD does way more. He can handle the ball, and he can handle the ball like better than a lot of people my size, the way he handles the ball. But to say he don't lift weights, to say he's not strong, and to still be so effective scoring, that says a lot about his talent, Skip.
So are we looking at finally the best player on the planet right now in Kevin Durant?
We've been saying that for a while, man. We've been saying there's no knock against LeBron. LeBron and KD, I've always put them on the same notch because they've both been dominant and they can take over anytime they want to. But I just think the magnitude of the game, they lose that game, this season is over. Yep. They're going back to Milwaukee, and they definitely losing that game. But it said a lot about this team. You know, it said a lot about these guys. Jeff Green, we can't forget about Jeff Green.
Uncle Jeff was huge.
Harris couldn't throw a Skittle in the ocean. You know what I mean? But I say this all the time too, Shannon and Skip. You have your shooters that's knockdown shooters in regular season, but when it comes to these playoffs, they can't hit a shot. And I think for Jeff Green to step up, knowing that Harris and the rest of those guys not playing well, KD, man, you got to give him his props, man. He did what everybody was expecting him to do.
So my final point about all this is the reason Kevin's performance was so special and all-time spectacular is that James Harden wasn't spectacular. I can't even still get it in my head how bad James Harden was last night because he played without even really playing. He just protected his hamstring for 46 straight minutes to the point he became a liability on offense and obviously especially on defense.
Right.
This is a man who led the league in scoring 3 straight years, who averaged 1 year 36 a game, who in the closeout game of the previous series against Boston went 34, 10, and 10. And you want to talk about a shell of yourself? And Kevin had to win in spite of James. I know he appreciated James was out there for him, but that's all James was out there.
Because, Stacks, when you look at this, there are very few times that animals pass up an easy meal to catch the fastest prey. James was vulnerable. Take advantage of him. Joe Harris is a liability. Take advantage of him. You try, we going to feed Giannis. We going to feed Giannis is trying to shoot jumpers and threes. He gets on the block. He got Jeff Green. Jeff Green's what, 6'7"? And he's shooting fadeaways. He gets James Harden. James Harden waves off a double team to take Giannis one-on-one on the low block, and Giannis fades away. That's the problem. Brook Lopez, you're 7 feet. Yes, you have three-point range, but can you get your butt down on the block? Can you take advantage of your height? You're a big team, and you play small. All y'all want to do is jack up threes. And Giannis?
Hey, you know what, Shannon? Even though James didn't do much, a lot of times just having his presence out there gives everybody else confidence.
Yes.
You know what it did, too? It took KD off the ball a lot. Well, I'm saying he was able to get down the court and get the ball and have to bring it up and save a little bit of energy. But you got to do, I know y'all remember this. Drew Holiday had James on him, one play. Drove right by him.
Thank you.
Back down the next play and shot a three.
Yes.
You can't do that. And this is my hot take for the day. Middleton's the most talented player on their team, and they need to start treating him like it. He can do all it. He can do everything on the court. You can't really take anything from him. Giannis has 2 moves, and they taking that spin away from him now. So Middleton is the best player on the team. They got to start treating him like it and start running the offense more through him if they want to get out the series.
But what did you see yesterday, the last 5 minutes of the ball game? You saw KD leave P.J. Tucker and says, I got Middleton because he's the guy can beat us. What did you see Giannis do? He the best player on the planet. I was just hoping he missed. What?
You can't say that.
Thank you.
Say that in the middle of the series.
You should have fired on him.
Never hit Kobe, Tim Duncan, or nobody say somebody on the other side is the best player in the world when they won a game from kicking y'all out the playoffs. You can't say that was bad timing. I understand you're trying to be a good sport, but it don't work like that where I'm from, okay?
No.
I'm not giving you no props until you beat me, bro.
Exactly.
Trust me, Katie hearing that, and they going to Milwaukee with blood on their hands.
All right, Steven, great stuff. Love the energy. Love your backdrop. I have to say, very, very impressed by what you're working with. We will check in with you.
You in Foot Locker. Stop lying. You in Foot Locker.
He's got a gym. He's got everything you need right there.
No mercy.
Social media was on fire after Kevin Durant's monster game. Skip Shannon definitely tweeted about it. Even I did. And then LeBron tweeted about it as well, simply posting, quote, greatness, appreciate it. While you can, people, hashtag KD. So, Shannon, you probably know here. What is LeBron saying?
Kind of what we said last week, Skip, we talked about it, is that sometimes you don't really appreciate something when it's right there in front of you. You just take it for granted. You're like, okay, that's going to be there forever. But it's not. I remember playing and seeing Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and playing against Reggie White and LT and Barry Sanders. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's... But it's now, Skip, when I look back and I see when I watch NFL Network or NFL Films and they showed old clips of these guys, I was like, damn, they were really that dude. Skip, you don't... And I was a fan, but, you don't really think about it at that time that you're doing it because, I got to compete against. I can't be all caught up in the moment and be like Giannis is a KD all in the moment because I'm going to have to compete against these guys. And LeBron is like, I don't think sometimes you appreciate how skilled these guys are, how great they are at the time. We nitpick everything that they do. And he said, you need to appreciate this now because what that guy did and what he's capable of doing, Skip, I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. Who's going to be the guy that's going to be 7'2", that have handle like that? Be efficient at all 3 levels, the 3, the mid-range, get to the basket, shoot free throws. I don't know. LeBron, at the end of the day, LeBron is a fan of all sports. He's watching everything. He must be got a Dave and Buster's. Because be it soccer, be it everything, he's going to tweet about, if somebody does something good, he's going to tweet about it.
I think you're not seeing the forest for the trees that are falling on your head right now because this is LeBron, just can't help himself.
What can't help?
This is LeBron. He had to make it about himself.
He just said did. KD.
No. Even you, Shannon Sharp, the biggest LeBron fan on the planet, even you stepped back from that performance last night and you called it Kevin Durant's greatest performance ever.
Yes.
And I wish LeBron had been able to step away from it and just appreciate Kevin's greatness in the moment and just say, that's sheer greatness. Congratulations, Kevin Durant.
Right.
But that's not what he said.
What did he say?
He had to step back from it and make it about us. He had to steal a little bit of the spotlight and say, appreciate it while you can.
Right.
Because he knows he's out of the playoffs. He knows he's starting to get toward the end of his career. I'm not even going to go to aging because he did have an issue with his ankle.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But I think Father Time is at least reaching for his shoulder to tap in, at least reaching, because now he's going on age 37. And what are we up to now?
You're 19.
19. It'll be the 19th year, and LeBron knows it full well. So he's basically saying about him and KD, you better appreciate me also.
He didn't say
I'm
that.
here.
He said
but
great.
you know, and I know between the lines.
No, it ain't between
that's
the lines.
where he was going with that.
You tried to do interpretation, Skip.
I'm not. I just know him, and he cannot. He cannot help himself. It's almost like a childish reaction of. It's a little bit jealous. It's a little bit resentful. He knows that it's Kevin's time and Kevin's spotlight. You better appreciate it while it's here. Why should you? That's a negative thought, right?
No, it's not.
That's indicating that he's getting old at 32.
You see what you're doing? You're reading between the lines.
No,
nobody asked you to. I wanted you, Skip. I gave you what I wanted you to read.
It's glaring between the lines.
He said, LeBron says, greatness. Appreciate it while you can, people.
Okay. Well,
Hashtag KD.
Is that not indicating that KD's on the backside of his career?
No.
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Well, come on. He's 32, right? And this is Kevin's. What are we up to?
He's saying
he missed one whole year.
He's saying while these guys are playing, appreciate what you're seeing. Appreciate it.
And he would like to apply that in large part to himself.
No, Skip.
Right?
You do really.
You better appreciate me while I'm still here. I know I'm not in the playoffs, but I'm still here.
Think about it, Skip. Kobe, and then it was gone just like that. It was like Kobe was doing great. He had a couple of injuries, and the next thing you know, he's having a farewell tour. And that's what happens, Skip. I know KD is year 14, and he seems to be he's still at his peak.
Well,
but before
he
you know
miss an entire season, so he's got one up on LeBron in that he didn't have to batter his body for that season, right?
It's going to go before you know it, and LeBron just wants you to appreciate it.
Okay, why would you plant a negative seed in a positive?
It ain't no negative.
It is too negative. You better appreciate it before it's gone, indicating that to make everybody think it could be gone tomorrow, right?
Skip. And it could, but that's not what he said.
And by the way, it wasn't that long ago that Kevin Durant completely ruptured his Achilles tendon and had to have it completely reattached.
You think Kevin Durant plays 10 more years?
Coming off the Achilles, it might have taken a year off his career.
So he's going to play 9 more years. So you got Kevin Durant playing 23 NBA seasons.
No, I got him playing 5 more years.
Okay.
How long is LeBron going to play? How many more?
Probably 3.
3, 2, 1?
3. No. I tell you what, until when we get 40,000, we'll say sayonara.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you, outie. Peace, deuces.
Yeah. Well, it was a brilliant tweet, I got to tell you, because it's deep. It's Dr. Phil, Dr. Floyd.
No, what it is what if you take the tweet at its face value and stop trying to read between the lines.
Before it's gone is a negative thought introduced into an extremely positive moment. Am I right?
I thought I was debating Skip Bayless. I didn't know I had Deepak Chopra up here. You'd go all in between the minds.
I could pull up a lot of both of your tweets and do some evaluation of my own. So I think we should.
I gave him credit last night. I said it's the greatest game.
I saw that. And
well,
I saw Skip tweeting
3 more
KD
cases.
I'm gonna get it back to that
greater than LeBron, which I won't bring up your tweet either.
No mercy.
Kevin Durant was 1 point shy of his playoff career high of 50, which he probably could have gotten if the game needed a few more free throws to ice it at the end. Still, KD made scoring 49 points look relatively easy last night, going 16 of 23 from the field, 4 of 9 from three-point range, and 13 of 16 at the free throw line. Impressive. Shannon, is Kevin Durant proving to be the greatest scorer of all time?
Skip, I'm going to say he's the most efficient scorer of all time.
Okay.
I just don't believe he can get buckets like Kobe and Jordan could. Or we haven't seen him. Now, we saw last night what he did. But, Skip, you remember that stretch where Kobe had like 6 games in a row of 50, and he threw an 81 in there. He threw a 63 and 3/4 in there. And we know what Jordan was at scoring the basketball. But if you look at the three-point line, he's a career 38% from 3. The mid-range, he's great.
Durant is.
Durant.
Yeah.
He can get to the bucket. He's a better free throw shooter than both of those guys. But, Skip, the reason why I don't think he doesn't shoot as much as those guys. Jordan averaged 23 shots a game, Skip. He had 12 seasons in which he averaged at least 20 shots a game. Kobe averaged 19.5 shots a game. He had 13 seasons in which he averaged 20 shots a game. Kevin Durant averaged 18.6 shots a game. He's only had 2 seasons in which he's averaged 20 shots. So if you bump, so Skip, we may be having a different argument if he shot the ball as much as Kobe and Jordan did, because with the efficiency in which he shoots it and his ability to shoot the three, because that's more of an emphasis and it's much higher. Kobe and Jordan were under 33% as three-point shooters. Kevin Durant is a career 38%.
Yep.
So if he were to shoot as much as they did, Skip, I'm not so sure that he wouldn't average 30. He probably would be averaging 30. He probably averaged 31 points a game.
Yep.
And just because of that, Skip, he's more efficient. But it's hard for me to put somebody over Kobe and Jordan.
Yep.
Because, Skip, if we think about it, the guy on his team, James Harden, did we forget about James Harden?
Well, last night I did. Yep.
But, Skip, you just highlighted that he averaged 36 points a game for a season, 34 points a game for a season.
Greatest perimeter scorer I've ever seen.
But I'm going to put KD. He right there.
Okay. I am with you. This is a tricky, tough question.
It ain't easy.
The most gifted scorer of the basketball I've ever seen is Kevin Bleepin Durant.
Yes.
He's 7 feet tall. He's a long 7 feet tall, and he can just shoot the lights out from huge distance.
Yes.
Like he can pull up.
Oh, they definitely have the range he had.
From 30, 35 feet.
Easy.
He can just pull up and just make threes like they're free throws. We've never seen that before. We've never seen handles like this on a 7-footer.
No.
Dirk didn't have handles like this.
No.
So his degree of difficulty is the lowest.
Right.
But to your point, his problem is, quote unquote, problem is he's not selfish enough.
Right.
He doesn't have enough diva in him. He's actually a real live basketball player where he plays exactly the right way, where he does not take poor shots.
Right.
He doesn't force up shots.
Right.
He doesn't gun. He doesn't just go ballistic. I'm just going to shoot it every time.
Right.
And yet, in my mind's eye, I'm clinging to Jordan and I'm clinging to Kobe because Jordan won 10 scoring titles. And he was selfish. And Kobe was even more selfish. Kobe won 2 scoring titles in 05 and 06. And in those years, he averaged 35 and 31. They're called 32.
Right.
And in Jordan's years in Chicago, he averaged 32 in the 10 scoring title years. Well, there was one year he averaged 37 a game.
Yeah.
Well, it's gunnery. Like he's just going to shoot it every time. And he's a cold-blooded assassin on the basketball court with killer will.
If that's what KD wanted to do, KD could have 7, 8, 9 scoring titles if that's what he wanted.
I guess he could average 40 if he wanted to, because who's going to stop him?
Skip, think about it this year. He shot 54% from the field, 45% from the three, and 88% from the free throw line. And he took the second fewest shot attempts since his rookie season.
Okay. What do I always call Kevin Durant? Off the court, he is the thinnest skinned superstar I've ever closely observed.
Yes.
So when he's on social, he's got burner accounts because he's not that confident in himself. Mm-hmm. Yet he rises above it on the court. He's clutch now. He'll take and make big time shots like that one with 50 seconds left. That was a killer 3. That closed the deal. That was the dagger to me.
Yes.
Yet there's something deep in his psyche where he's not as confident as Jordan was. Jordan's not going to have burner accounts on social media. He's not going to get into it with Michael Rappaport.
I think, KD, I think today's guy, the players want to be like, Jordan didn't give a damn.
Yep. Jordan did not.
Jordan didn't care if nobody else, he didn't care about his teammates liking him. He definitely didn't care about his opponents liking him.
In the end, Kevin has a big heart.
He does.
And he wants to be liked. And I think at heart, he's a really good guy.
So do I.
You can make a case. There's always that ad campaign back in the day of not nice Kevin, because I think he wanted that to say, I'm not that nice. I can be cold-blooded killer on the court. Well, to a degree you can, but you're not a selfish, shoot it at will basketball player, right?
I wish he was.
Yeah, good stuff.
I want to see him average 35.
No mercy.
Joel Embiid and the 76ers look to rebound after blowing an 18-point lead in Game 4 on Monday night. Embiid went 0 for 12 in the second half, but Fox Bet Sportsbook has Philly as a 6.5-point home favorite for Game 5 tonight. So, Shannon, who wins Game 5?
I think the Sixers are going to win, Skip. I always worry about a team that wins a ball game after expending a lot of energy, being down a large sum for the entirety of the game and exerting so much to come back. So I'm going to take Philly, but they're coming back to Atlanta. Atlanta's going to win Game 6. They're going back to Philly for Game 7. Book it.
Really? Book that?
Book it. Book that.
Okay. So the question tonight is, will Joel Embiid play through some pain, just a little bit of pain? I'm going to guess this time, yes. So I got Philly in Game 5 at home. I got Philly in Game 7 at home for 3 more cases.
Oh, hold on. What about, hold on. How you go 5-7? What about 6?
I'll give you 6.
No, I don't want you to give me those 6. Yeah. Hold on. So let me ask you this. What are you going to get from Ben Simmons? Is he going to be aggressive? Because, there's a lot of revisionist history. I should have been more aggressive. At some point in time, Doc can't remind you every game, Ben Simmons, you need to be aggressive. You need to remind yourself.
Well, I believe tonight he will be more aggressive, which means he's going to have to go shoot more free throws, which means he's going to have to suck it up and play through the pain of missing half of his free throws.
All right.
Just go make half of them.
Don't go back. Don't go to the highlight factory down 2-3. Don't let that happen, Skip.
Would you like 3 cases on your hometown Hawks? Because Trae Young's been cold. He's just
18 assists.
It's cold.
Did he have 18 assists the other night?
That's all.
Are we betting on this one or not?
No bet.
No bet. Today?
No guts, no glory.
Lucky you,
We got to bet
That
tonight,
is it
though,
for
the Jazz.
Undisputed. We will be all over it tomorrow morning. The Herd is next with Colin and Joy. Have a good one.